Hello, friends of Golf Course Quality Fertilizer. Today we're going to talk about the fungus among us. Uh, just about everybody has what we see in the yard, mushrooms. And I'm going to talk about, the different things on mushrooms and how they're not dangerous. They don't hurt the lawn. They are a little ugly, but they're growing up like crazy with all the rains and water we've had. So, the mushrooms are actually good for the lawn. What they're doing is they're breaking down the organic matter and they're making nutrients available to the grass. So even though they're unsightly, they do good things for our soils. And so I don't do any treatment for mushrooms. I just go out and mow them down or knock them down. I think people's biggest concern about mushrooms is that they might hurt their dog or hurt their kids. And luckily enough, mushrooms in the lawn are not poisonous mushrooms. So they might get an upset stomach, they might throw up or something, but they're not going to hurt anybody, which is good. And so mushrooms are actually beneficial. And so even though it's a pain and it doesn't look real pretty, there's really not much we can do. We could spray a fungicide if we so please, but fungicides only last for 2 to 4 weeks, depending on which kind you're using. There's so many different varieties of mushrooms that you'll probably, maybe or maybe not control them. So it just depends on what mushrooms you have and stuff like that. They don't last for very long unless we have nonstop wet season like we've had this year so far. And they're just kind of benign. So don't worry too much about mushrooms. It'd be silly to try to spend money to spray them. You just got to mow them over and deal with them. I'm going to show you one other thing about mushrooms or fungus, and we'll go over there and look at it right now. So hold on a second. Okay, now this is another fungus. It's actually in the mushroom family and all that fun stuff. It's a fungus. It's called fairy ring. You notice the green circle. I'm sure a lot of people are seeing the green circle lately. It's a fungus that lives in the soil, and it actually, as it breaks down the organic matter, it releases nitrogen, and that's why you have these green circles. We're seeing it really bad this year because it is just constantly feeding water to these areas. And then you'll notice that just before your application, you might start seeing these green circles popping up. Well, as soon as you put down your application, all the grass will turn green from the nitrogen in the fertilizer, and it'll blend and kind of seemingly go away, even though it's still always there. Some of these rings actually have been measured at 2 miles in circumference. So, and you'll sometimes see mushrooms growing in their little circle there as well. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It just kind of be unsightly. Sometimes in the hot of the summer, if it's wet and stuff, it'll actually still be producing lots of nitrogen, and you might even see that area burn out a little bit around that circle. The grass actually die, like we spilled fertilizer in that area. And same situation, overwhelming amount of nitrogen and hot weather, it might burn it out. And so you'll see that a little bit in these areas. Now, there is no concern about mushrooms and fairy ring necessarily, but the one thing we do want to notice is that means that we're primed and ready for any kind of turf diseases as well. So if the temperatures start raising up and getting into the mid 80s and not dropping below 70 at night, then you might end up getting diseases in your lawn. So if you see mushrooms around, that means that, hey, we got a primed situation where if the weather conditions cooperate with the bad funguses in our yard that will create dollar spot or red thread or rust or a myriad of other ones, then we got to be careful and watch out for those things. All right, so that is the funguses that are among us. We just live with them. They are a little unsightly. You can go out and mow them down if you want, but there's not much other things you can do for them. Thanks so much. If you got any more questions, you can always email us at gcqfertilizer@gmail.com. Thanks.